So why do any of this? Um, well, that's obviously a big question, but I want to manage myself, my being, and as I manage myself, the other things may develop in me or come out of me. I just want to manage myself. I mean, it's about time. One thing I want to manage is what I call unconscious thinking, unconscious linked thinking. Now we know when they happen in the meditation period, because what happens is it's a kind of peculiar experience in a sense, because there you are meditating, doing some kind of practice and focus and concentration, and then a thought intrudes, and then the next thing you know, you are asleep for a few seconds or 15 seconds or something. It was like you're asleep. And on the screen in front of you, as you're sleeping with your eyes open, I guess your ears are open too. And there you are asleep in front of the screen, and on the screen is playing this thought, and then this thought, and then this thought, and then this thought. And then you wake up. Oh, whoa, I was caught in that. That's what I call unconscious thinking. That's real easy to detect when you're in meditation. In daily life, there's so much of it, it's not so easy to detect. So I want to tone down the unconscious thinking. So I use you know, my stethoscope to help tone that down, because I know when I get going in a certain rhythm, and a faster rhythm, and a faster rhythm, and in my mind, it clicks into unconscious thinking. So it's easy to detect one type of unconscious thinking, and that's when you're meditating, and in comes this series of little train linked together, pushing and shoving, and spinning around, twirling around in three-dimensional space, and then you're asleep watching this happen, and then you wake up again, right? Unconscious thinking. Is there a lower order and a higher order unconscious thinking? Well, we're just making it up now. Lower order is lower order unconscious thinking, is what we just saw. When you're meditating and in comes these thoughts. Higher unconscious thinking is what we're doing right now. And to the extent that I have some silence and some space between my thoughts, it's less intrusive. It's less solidified unconscious thinking. It's still allowing space for a fullness of being to somehow come through. But it's unconscious thinking sometimes. You get caught up in the idea. It's often characterized as the jinn sphere of ideas, and this idea chasing this idea. They're just a little lighter, They're like David Less's meditation this week, Maybe those lower level unconscious thinkings we might consider sort of lightweights, Wait a second, no, they're heavy. Yeah, that's right, they're a little bit heavy. They're kind of solid, heavy. They are pretty solid thoughts. And then these other ones, this higher order unconscious thing, there's less pull of gravity on them, and they're lighter, and hence the name, the jinn sphere, right? But I'm just trying to say that those might be unconscious too, and they are unconscious to a certain extent. In other words, you can get caught in the lower, or you can get caught in the higher unconscious thinking. I can get caught. So we're doing the process right here and I think that's why I like to do these videos so much, because it's good practice for me. Um, so again, why do we want to do this? Why do we want to open up our minds, clear them out a little bit, and have less of these kind of dense, heavy thoughts linked together, these unconscious thoughts, or these higher unconscious thoughts, like little clouds and little wisps linked together again. Why do we want to do this? Because something new, something fresh comes through. Not the old self that I'm used to and tired of, not the knowledge that I have, knowing this and knowing this and knowing this, but something new, something fresh, something beyond the middle range. Something larger than myself. When I have that wonderful attunement, especially looking back on a Pure Light retreat, wherein my wide, wide arms of myself, me, I hold and cherish a much larger something, and well, that much larger something is what I'm trying to make room for by clearing some space in my mind from the crowded, dense thoughts or the crowded, cloud, wispy thoughts, they're kind of, I love that analogy that David Less has used sometimes about the wind clearing somehow the fields of one's mind, purifying winds. Last night we took our 5.5-month-old German Shepherd puppy, big puppy, lots of energy she has. And we went to the first training class. It was a private lesson, and then we're going to have a group lesson 4 or 5 days from now, and then another private lesson 2 days from now, so training's begun for Butterfingers is her name. We're influenced by the outside environment, by, sometimes they're called gross vibrations, but I mean these loud vibrations, we'll say. I had lawnmower services operating in our condos today, and I could hear it coming, and as it came, I talked quicker, and I sort of trying to get it in. I felt a little bit the way you feel when you drive and somebody behind you wants to drive faster than you want to drive, You're influenced by this. So this kind of influence might be from the outside, and so there is the handling of these outside stimulations, and there's also the ones inside, your own unconscious thoughts and feelings. Now, what about unconscious feelings? Unconscious feelings does that make sense as a term to use? What does that mean? Well, we've already identified one, is that hair trigger replay button that exists in us, and it kind of like goes off, and sometimes, maybe we press it. It's like it's not like it just goes off. We're a victim of it entirely. We press that replay button, and a lot of times we press that replay button. If anything, we're addicted to this ups and downs of life, right? But we press the replay button, and we waller in it, or we glorify ourselves in it. I've used the analogy that our heart is like, a gong that doesn't get to rest, doesn't get to reach silence. It keeps being hit by this replay button, by all these self-replayed impressions that we've received from outside or we generated from inside. And there's certainly many other things we can do. we ask for forgiveness from ourselves, from our higher selves, when we goof up, when we feel like we've fallen. I did that today, this morning. Let our conscience be our guide in regards to a lot of these issues. Of emotions, of the cleansing of emotions. If you're feeling guilty, that's an impression. That's hitting that gong, hitting that replay button about feeling guilty. Oh, I'm so upset with what I did. I just can't get over how bad that was, how it worked out. Oh, gosh. And you come back to it again and again and again. I saw a video this week of Pure at a retreat, and I'm sure it was in nature, big bonfire going. It was pretty big. It was pretty strong. The flames were really shooting up pretty good. And someone would come forward with him, and I've done this one time with him. That thing was out of the bonfire, but you bring him something that, your dark secret or something, nobody else is going to see it. He's not going to read it. But you bring your dark secret, this thing that you, somehow feel guilty about, or other emotions like that. You bring it to him, and he stands in front of you, looks you right through, and goes, and then, if there's a bonfire, he puts it in the bonfire. That's clearing the field, trying to clear the field,